Good day, I'm Dr. Yong. Today I'll be talking about anatomy and pathophysiology of the human brain. Anatomy is a tough subject. Therefore, we need certain tricks to help us remember better. And we have 1. Association, 2. Analogy, and 3. Relevance. Association is finding within the subject of your study things that are relevant to you. For example, you can think about human brain is related to memory, and memory is important for me if I want to pass my exams. Or number 2, that you find that, if I sleep better, I recall information better, and we shall see why. And analogy is comparing things that are similar in nature. For example, nowadays everyone has a smartphone, and you have 8 GB of RAM in your smartphone, and that's related to the attention and our short-term memory. Your phone has 256 GB of storage, and that relates to our long-term memory. And nowadays phone also have quick charge, and that's what you do when you take a power nap, and the total storage capacity of your battery is 5000 milliamp, and that's how we fill up with sleep. And if we look at how our brain stores information, our brain takes sensory input from our 5 senses, our sight, sound, smell, sensation, and taste. It gets filtered through the reticular activating system, and things that are important are brought up to our conscious mind. And this is actually short-term memory, which gets encoded into long-term memory when we sleep. That is why sleep is important. And you find that rehearsal is very important, and repetition, because we have a thing called the forgetting curve. And the more that we rehearse, and if we use the information and teach it to somebody else, we remember things better. Or else we only retain 80% of what we learn by the first 24 hours, and only 60% by day 3. And in relation to memory, now we look at the anatomy of the brain. The frontal lobe here is related to the episodic as well as short-term memory. The temporal lobe here is related to semantic memory, speech, and words. The cerebellum over here is related to procedural memory, which is like how to ride a bicycle or how to play the violin, for example. And if we look at the inside structure of the brain, we see this yellow structure here is actually the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system governing feelings and emotions. Right behind it is the hippocampus, which is where we store our long-term memory. And you'll find that strong emotions help recall. For example, your child's first birthday, or example, the passing of someone dear to you. That event is seared in your memory because of the emotional impact that it has. And now we go to association between sleep and memory. So the blue structures that you see here is actually the cerebrospinal fluid. It bathes the brain. It functions as a shock absorber. It's also important in maintaining the hygiene of the brain, in addition to microglial cells. So research has found that the cerebrospinal fluid actually syncs up to our brain waves when we sleep, and this is important for it to remove toxic metabolites, removing things like plaque that actually becomes a feature of Alzheimer's disease, which is a form of dementia. And now, making the subject of your study relevant, and that's why you will remember it better. Because you are nursing students and paramedic students, you've probably heard of the term silver tsunami. So what is silver tsunami? Silver tsunami is the rapid aging population of Singapore. In the year 2000, 1 in 14 persons are actually above 65 years old, but in 2030, it's projected that 1 in 4 persons will be above 65 years old. 1 in 10 persons in Singapore above 60 have dementia. And when you are age 85 and above, it's 50% of those above 85 have dementia. So as the population ages, when the elderly becomes a significant portion of the population, dementia will be a big issue that we have to handle. And that's why it's important for you to understand your subject, and that's how you can help. Okay, now we go into pathophysiology. We've touched it briefly. If we look at imaging, you'll find that hippocampal atrophy is a main feature of Alzheimer's disease. And in this serial MRI of a patient over a course of 3 years, there is gradual loss of hippocampal tissue, as you can see here. When you do a biopsy, what you find that this area is shrunken. Okay, and with that, we come to the end of a brief introduction of the anatomy and pathophysiology of the human brain. Take-home messages: anatomy, very hard to remember, so you need to use tricks to help you remember. And remember, memory, the forgetting curve, and the more you repeat and rehearse, the better you remember. Okay, that's it for me today. Thank you very much.